What's a deep, dark secret you've never told anyone? Story 1. I was feeling really frustrated, but since my family was around, I decided to take a shower to get some privacy. At the time, I didn't have a phone case because my previous one had broken. As I was standing in the shower, I was getting pretty close to finishing. So I went to set my phone in the basket on top of the toilet, where I kept my wallet and other things. Unfortunately, I accidentally dropped my phone onto the tile floor, and the screen shattered completely. I immediately realized that explaining this to my dad wouldn't be easy, so I came up with a plan. After finishing my shower and getting dressed, I went to the basement stairs, intentionally slipped down them, and got myself scratched up. I made sure my phone fell with me so it would look like it broke from the fall. Then I went upstairs with my bleeding knee and broken phone, telling my family that I had fallen down the stairs and that's how my phone got damaged. My family immediately sympathized with me, and I didn't get into any trouble. To this day, nobody knows that I actually threw myself down the stairs instead of just slipping. Looking back, I realize I probably could have just said I fell without actually doing it, but at the time it felt necessary. Story 2. When I was 15, I reached a really dark place and tried to end my life. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and on that Saturday night, I went into their medicine cabinet and took an unknown but excessive amount of pills. To this day, I have no idea what I ingested. I wrote a long, drawn-out note, locked my bedroom door, and fell asleep, expecting not to wake up. However, my parents came home much earlier than I expected on Sunday morning. I had left a small desk lamp on in my room, and when they saw the light, they tried to get inside to turn it off. When I didn't respond, they panicked. My dad ended up breaking down the door and shaking me awake, bombarding me with questions: why the door was locked, why I wasn't responding, and what was wrong with me. Barely conscious, I groggily lied and told them I was just extremely tired and not feeling well. Hesitant but seemingly convinced, they left my room. As soon as they did, I grabbed the note and destroyed it. Later, I went into the living room and cried in my mom's arms for what felt like hours. When she asked me what was wrong, I just told her I'd had a really bad weekend and nothing more. To this day, my parents joke about how I sleep like the dead, not realizing how close I actually was to death that night. I never told them what really happened or how they unknowingly saved my life. 16 years later, I still own that little desk lamp, the same one that was left on that night. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I turn it on as a reminder that sometimes all you need is a little light to get through the darkest times. Story 3. Last summer on my birthday, I had planned to end my life. I was on my way to the mountains, fully intent on going through with it. But fate had other plans. On the drive there, I got pulled over by an RCMP officer. Instead of just issuing a ticket or rushing through the process, he was unexpectedly kind to me. That moment of human connection slowed me down just enough. Then when I arrived at my destination, I met two older couples on the hiking trail. They invited me to hike with them, and I accepted. After the hike, they took me out to dinner, insisting that no one should be alone on their birthday. They even paid for my meal and a drink. They had no idea what they had just done. Their simple kindness, their willingness to include a stranger, unknowingly saved my life. Now looking back, I'm grateful to still be here. This past year hasn't been easy, far from it, but that one day being surrounded by people who genuinely cared was enough to pull me back from the edge. I don't take that for granted. So to anyone reading this, never underestimate the power of kindness. You never know whose life you might change just by showing them they matter. Story 4. I constantly feel like people are watching me, waiting to take me away. The paranoia is suffocating, but I can't tell anyone, because if I do, I fear they'll make my worst nightmare come true. I often think about running away, disappearing without telling anyone, just so I can feel safe. At first, I didn't expect anyone to care. I just needed to put this into words because I couldn't say it out loud to anyone in my life. But for those who are reading this, I want to be honest. I have schizophrenia. I've had it since childhood, but I kept it a secret for years. Every time I even think about talking about what's going on inside my head, a voice tells me not to. It tells me that if I open up, I'll be locked away or rejected. That fear has kept me silent. Even when I finally told my doctor a few months ago, I still found myself lying, too scared to tell the full truth. But something changed. After reading the comments people left for me, I made a decision. This Wednesday, I'm going to talk to someone. And this time, I'm not going alone. My best friend, who has been keeping notes of what I've told him, is coming with me to make sure they hear the full story. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm taking a step forward. And that's because of the support from strangers who reminded me that I'm not as alone as I thought. Thank you. You made my day. Story 5. Over the past year, I've lost weight, started exercising regularly, and have been packing healthy lunches for work. My friends and coworkers constantly compliment me on my weight loss and fitness level, praising my dedication. But what they don't see, the part I hide so well, is what happens on my days off. When I'm home alone, I binge eat massive amounts of food and then force myself to throw it all up. Not just once, but multiple times throughout the day until my husband comes home. I know exactly what I'm doing to my body. I'm a registered nurse. I understand the damage I'm causing, and yet I can't seem to stop. Edit. I never expected this much support. I'm overwhelmed. I was sitting on the swing in my backyard with my husband and 3-year-old son when I switched accounts to share this. Just typing it out, reading the words staring back at me, physically hurt. It breaks my heart to see how many others are suffering in silence, hiding their own eating disorders. I know I need help, but I've always been the strong one in my family. Admitting that I'm struggling feels like failing, and that shame has kept me quiet for so long. But seeing all of your kind words, the support from complete strangers, has been oddly comforting. Thank you for taking the time to reach out. It means more than you know. Story 6. One night while my girlfriend and I were sleeping, she suddenly got incredibly sick. She rolled off the bed and vomited all over the floor, everywhere. I don't handle vomit well, at all. The smell alone made me nauseous, and before I could even get out of the room, I lost it too, straight into her trash can. I ran to the bathroom to finish up just as her roommate, who also happens to be her sister, came rushing in. She had heard me burst out of the room and wanted to see what was happening. What she walked into was pure chaos. There was vomit everywhere, an unbelievable amount for one small girl. She immediately sprang into action, getting my girlfriend into the shower and asking me to watch over her while she cleaned up the disaster zone. It took her a while. My girlfriend threw up a few more times. It turned out to be food poisoning, but eventually the mess was mostly gone. I got her back into bed and made sure she was okay. And to this day, I have never told a single soul that half of that mess was actually mine. Story 7. A few years ago, I started noticing that I was losing my emotions. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured it was just a phase, and since I couldn't afford therapy, I just assumed it would pass on its own. It hasn't. What really made me aware of it was when my significant other asked me how I would feel if she died. I thought about it for a moment, searching for something, anything, but nothing came. I couldn't even picture myself being upset. I lied. I told her I'd probably be depressed for 6 months to a year, and then I'd eventually work through it and start looking for someone new to share my life with. I only said that because I knew it was what she wanted to hear. She has this strange fear of me being alone. She smiled, satisfied with my answer, and went back to watching TV. But I kept thinking. I imagined other important people in my life dying. My parents, my siblings, close friends, and I felt nothing. Recently, my youngest brother received his Eagle Scout award. We had a ceremony for it and everything. I stood there watching the whole thing unfold, and I didn't feel a single thing. I think my mom might be catching on because she asked about my mental health during the celebration. I lied and told her I was just tired, but I know she's too busy with moving to bring it up again. I haven't told anyone because I don't want people putting their lives on hold to try and fix me. But by November, I'll have a couple of debts paid off, and I'll finally be able to afford therapy. It'll be good for me because my lack of emotions is just one piece of the baggage I've been carrying. Story 8. My ex gave me herpes and lied about it the entire time. The crazy part? She doesn't even know that I contracted it. Toward the end of our relationship, I confronted her. I accused her of having herpes. That conversation quickly turned violent. She punched me, choked me, ripped my shirt. I never raised a hand to her. I just got out as fast as I could. She was a real peach. By the time I realized what she had done to me, our relationship was already falling apart. I never told her. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. Years later, I still haven't dated anyone. Not once. I don't know how to bring it up, when to bring it up, or even if I should bring it up. But I know I can't hide it from a potential partner, so instead, I've just accepted my forever single fate. My friends and family always ask about my dating life, wondering why I'm still alone. They assume my ex messed me up so badly that I've sworn off women altogether. If only they knew. Edit. I logged on this morning, fully intending to delete this post. Last night, all I could think was, you idiot. You just told the whole world you have herpes. But when I checked the comments, I was surprised. Instead of judgment, I found support. The overwhelming response? Yeah, that sucks. But most of us think it's no big deal. So quit being a chicken and just live your life. Story 9. There was one moment in my life, one opportunity, that I know for a fact I would have taken if it had played out differently. It was at a family reunion. She was a cousin, but only by marriage and around my age. We had only met a couple of times before, but when I saw her that day, something clicked. She was tall, pale-skinned, dark-haired, thick in all the right places, right up my alley. There was an immediate, undeniable sexual tension between us. I felt it, clear and familiar, but despite how attracted to her I was, I kept my demeanor as neutral as possible. I didn't expect her to be so forward. She invited me to hang out, just the two of us, and watch a movie together. We talked, got to know each other a little better, and then moved into the TV room while the rest of the family was elsewhere. We sat close on the couch, watching Dirty Rotten Scoundrels on DVD, but my mind was elsewhere. I was waiting to see where this was going. Then we got interrupted. Family started trickling into the room. Then it was time for family activities. Just like that, the moment was gone. The disappointment on her face was as clear as day, and honestly, it hit me hard. Looking back now, I still wonder what could have been. If we hadn't been interrupted, if things had played out just a little differently, yeah, I totally would have hooked up with her. Story 10. I was raped and tortured for approximately 45 minutes to an hour by my ex. I'm a guy. I made a long post about this a while back, but I deleted it. Writing it out gave me massive anxiety and I felt physically sick for days afterward. I won't go into too much detail, but here are some things that happened to me that day. I was urinated on. Some of it got in my mouth. My genitals were handled so roughly that I still have pain to this day. I live with chronic pain because of what was done to me. Mentally, I'm barely holding on. I can't let anyone touch me, not even sit next to me, without breaking into a cold sweat and panicking. The injury caused by the torture means I'll never be able to do certain things I loved, like boxing or riding motorcycles, ever again. If you're wondering about the injury, I left out the details on purpose. I don't want anyone figuring out who I am. I haven't told a single soul in real life. I don't have the strength to. Story 11. This isn't the deepest or darkest secret, but if I hadn't done what I did, my brother's life would look very different today. My brother was always the type of guy that girls chased. He had a reputation, never violent, but he cheated often and played the field. He had a few long-term relationships, but his last serious girlfriend was different. He was more into her than the others. The problem? She was high maintenance, manipulative, and had a habit of pushing his buttons. She knew exactly how to make him lose his temper. One night, after yet another heated argument, he snapped. He grabbed her, pinned her against a wall. He didn't hit her, but he came close. That was his wake-up call. He knew he needed out, so he ended it. But she didn't let go so easily. Over the next few months, she kept calling, texting, trying to pull him back in. At first, he was firm, but little by little, he started considering it. Then we both got a job a couple of hours away from our hometown. In our first week there, we went out drinking, and he lost his phone. He had to get a new number. Contact with her was completely cut off. At first, he talked about her a lot. He missed her. He still loved her. But he also knew she wasn't good for him. He was stuck in this limbo trying to convince himself not to reach out. One night, she finally figured out that she still had my number. She texted me, asking to speak to him. I didn't even hesitate. I told her he wasn't interested, that she should move on. She never replied. She never reached out again, and my brother never knew. I know that if I had given him her number, they would have gotten back together. And who knows how that would have ended. Instead, many years in relationships later, he's now married to a woman who truly makes him happy. They have kids, they built a life together. He has no idea what I did, and I'll never tell him. Story 12. When I was around 6 or 7, I had a little secret. My friend's family always left their back porch unlocked, and their backyard was completely hidden behind high bushes and a tall wooden fence. Their house faced mine, and since my parents left my sister and me home alone for a few hours after school, I had plenty of time to myself. Whenever I saw my friend's family leave in their car, I would casually cross the street, slip through their backyard gate, and let myself inside. No one could see me, and I knew I had the place to myself. I never did anything wild. I just played with his stuff. Video games, toys, whatever looked fun at the time. Maybe I'd grab a Capri Sun or some cookies while I was there. It felt like a secret clubhouse, except it wasn't mine. The only thing I had to be careful about was when they came home. Their garage door was loud, so the second I heard it, I would drop everything, turn off the bedroom light, calmly walk out through the backyard entrance, and head home like nothing had happened. I never got caught. The worst thing I ever did? I once hid his little brother's favorite toy just to mess with him. That's it. And until now, I've never told a single soul. Story 13. Back in college, I had a serious attraction to my friend's girlfriend. She was stunning, fun to be around, and in many ways, I felt like I connected with her better than I did with him. I tried to keep it under wraps, but I thought about her a lot. One night, we were all at a party at his house, drinking and having a good time. I found a quiet spot on a reclining chair in the corner, out of sight, just relaxing. That's when she came over. She leaned in, pressing against my arm, and traced her finger down my chest. Then she whispered, "After I finish with him, I want to have fun with you, too." I froze. I turned away, trying to brush it off, but she just laughed, saying she loved teasing me. As much as I wanted her, I couldn't do it. No matter how badly I had thought about it before, I couldn't bring myself to cross that line. It wasn't even about loyalty to my friend. I just knew it wasn't right. Eventually, he broke up with her over something trivial, saying he wasn't ready for a relationship. He never knew what she had said to me that night. After they split, I started to resent him a little. Not because of her, but because, as time went on, I realized he wasn't really that great of a friend. We drifted apart, and I cut ties with both of them. Looking back, it was just a situation I needed to walk away from. Story 14. This one's kind of embarrassing, but honestly, I still laugh about it. Last summer, my fiancé and I went to a music festival where you camp out in tents. Our tent was set up among some trees. There was enough spacing between them that you could see other people if they were walking around, but it still felt somewhat private. One night, around 3 a.m., I woke up with the worst stomach rumbling imaginable. Within seconds, I realized I had to go. Immediately. The problem? The nearest outhouse was at least a 5-minute walk away. I knew there was zero chance I'd make it. Panic mode kicked in. I did the only thing I could think of. I scrambled out of the tent, hastily dug a hole in the sand like some kind of desperate woodland creature, and let nature take its course. It was not graceful, it was not dignified, but it was necessary. There were people around, but at that moment I didn't care. The alternative was far worse. I grabbed some paper towel from our small cooking area, did what needed to be done, and quickly buried the evidence like a cat covering its tracks. Then, without looking around to see if anyone had witnessed my emergency evacuation, I slipped back into the tent, praying that nobody nearby was awake to hear or smell what had just happened. To this day, I have no idea if anyone saw me, and honestly, I don't want to know. Story 15. 3 years ago, my best friend died. Everyone believes it was a tragic car accident. I'm the only one who knows the truth. The day before she died, she told me she was going to die in a car accident. It wasn't a prediction, it was a decision. She wasn't alone in the car. Her passenger died too, a man who had date raped her 10 years prior. He had recently come back into her life, apologizing, trying to make amends. He was supposed to be moving across the country the very next day. I was the only one who knew what he had done to her. I think her parents suspect it wasn't an accident, based on things they've said over the years. But I've never had the heart or the courage to bring it up. She had a large life insurance policy. If the truth came out, it would be rescinded. Every penny of it was donated to a scholarship fund. I've carried the weight of her suic alone. It haunts me. Everyone remembers her as this sweet, kind person, and I miss her deeply. But as much as I love her, I can't shake the anger. She didn't just end her own life, she took someone else with her. Story 16. One night I decided I was going to kill myself. I started cleaning out my closet, getting everything in order. One of the things buried in there was my Dance Dance Revolution pad. For some reason, before going through with it, I decided to play a game. I was always decent at DDR, but something about seeing great, Zrania, perfect, Zrania, marvelous, pop up on the screen gave me a sense of accomplishment, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I played all night. By the time I finished, the sun was up, my parents were awake, and I thought, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. But the next day, instead of going through with it, I played DDR again, and then again. It became my routine. Without even realizing it, I started losing weight, 80 pounds to be exact. Now, when people ask me about my weight loss, I tell them a simple, easy-to-digest story. Oh, I was cleaning out my closet and found my DDR pad, and the rest is history. No one knows the real reason I cleaned out my closet that night. And if I'm being honest, as much as people celebrate my transformation, I don't feel as happy about it as they think I do. Story 17. I got fat on purpose. Ever heard of gainers? Yeah, I was one. It started as a fetish, something that excited me. I was young, probably in 8th or 9th grade, when I first got into it. By the time I graduated high school, I had gone from 130 pounds to 250. But then reality hit. I developed digestive issues in college, which caused me to lose 70 pounds. At first, I was happy with the weight loss and decided to leave the whole gaining on purpose thing behind. But I had already developed terrible eating habits, and before I knew it, I had gained back 20 pounds, accidentally. And that was a turn-on. So I gave in and intentionally gained my way back up to 240 pounds. Then the digestive problems came back, forcing me to lose weight again. Now I feel stuck in an endless cycle, wanting to lose weight, loving when I gain weight, fighting against the bad eating habits I developed, and dealing with constant digestive issues. Most of the time, I yo-yo between 200 and 215 pounds. Looking back, I wish I had never gotten into it. But back then, it was such a strong desire that I didn't care about the consequences. And now, I feel like I'm paying for it every day. Story 18. This isn't the darkest thing I've ever done, but it's something I regret to this day. Over 40 years ago, I worked as a cook at Sambo's. Anyone remember them? There was a man and his young son who would come in regularly. It was clear they didn't have much money. They rarely ordered anything more than coffee. One day, they sat at the counter and ordered a grilled cheese with bacon. When I made the sandwich, I followed the rules exactly. We were supposed to use 2 strips of bacon, but these particular strips were tiny and had shriveled up when cooked. They barely covered the bread. I could have added an extra strip. It wouldn't have cost me anything. But I was a good employee, and I stuck to the rules. I sent it out as it was. The man took one look at the sandwich and sent it back, clearly disappointed. Still, I refused to add more bacon because that was policy. I'll never forget the look on his face, that quiet resignation. Thinking back now, he had probably saved up just to buy that sandwich for his son. And I, stubborn and rule-following, sent him a sad excuse for a meal. It's been over 40 years, and I still feel like a complete jerk about it. I wish I could find him and apologize. I know it might sound stupid, but it really does bother me to this day. Story 19. I have a very specific and maybe odd Sewell preference. I find disabled people incredibly attractive. Now, having a disability fetish isn't that unusual, but mine manifests in a way that's different from what most people might expect. I don't watch disabled porn, nor am I into the idea of people being helpless or dependent. In fact, what I find most attractive is watching disabled individuals going about their daily lives, just existing, doing normal things. I'm not particularly drawn to disabled athletes who have been glamorized into traditional beauty standards, and I have no interest in photos of able-bodied models edited to look disabled. For me, it's just like any other physical preference. Some people like muscular builds, freckles, or blue eyes. I just happen to find certain disabled individuals incredibly rare. Not all of them, of course, but when I see someone I find attractive, my heart and my libido takes a little leap. I've never dated a disabled person. Never even really had the chance to meet someone single who fit my type. And now I'm married to a very able-bodied partner, so that ship has pretty much sailed. But if I pass by someone cute on the street, let's just say they stay in my mind for a while. Story 20. Therapist here. I've read through a lot of the stories on here, and I just want to say I'm sorry. So many of you have been through incredibly painful and difficult experiences. Nothing I say can take that pain away, but I do want to encourage you to seek out help if you need it. Finding a therapist, whether it's a counselor, social worker, psychologist, or psychiatrist, is one of the best steps you can take toward recovery. And I know one of the hardest parts about therapy is just making that first appointment. But if you can push yourself to take that step, you're already statistically on your way to improving your quality of life. Yes, your problems are big enough to talk to a therapist about. No, your therapist won't judge you. No, you won't freak them out with what you say. We got into this profession to help people. I promise you, it's not for the money. Good luck, everyone. Story 21. Mine isn't nearly as dark as some of the stories here, but it still weighs on me. I just don't do anything. When people ask me what I do in my free time, I say nothing. It's easier than trying to explain the truth. I wait until night to sleep, and when I wake up, I start waiting for night again. People usually laugh, thinking I'm being dry or sarcastic. But I'm not. I mean it literally. After work, I go home and stare at the clock, wondering how to pass the time until I can justify going to bed. Usually, I just sit on the internet, not participating, just existing in the background. I always look forward to the weekend, but I have no idea why. It's just more of the same. Waiting for Monday, waiting for the next thing, waiting for anything that feels like movement. I don't know how to do things. Every time I try, I feel like it's a waste of time. Like I should be productive instead, whatever that even means. I know this sounds stupid, But it's exhausting. I hate myself for wasting every moment of my life, but I don't know how to stop. I don't enjoy anything. Story 22. I've worked in an insurance company call center for 3 years. It's hell. When I started, I was put into a department that no one knew how to run. Not even the so-called tech support team. The calls were relentless. People screamed at me about their benefits, about rate increases, about things I had no control over. The crazy part? The benefits they had were good, but no matter what, it was never enough for them. Management didn't care. Even when I exceeded expectations, they told me I wasn't doing well enough. Quality control nitpicked every detail. Workforce management did the same. So I started cutting myself at work. Just small scratches, enough to pass as accidental. But it helped me get through the day. As long as my numbers were good, no one cared. Around the same time, my health started deteriorating. I developed a chronic issue, coughing up blood daily. But with a high deductible insurance plan that cost me $7,000 just to confirm that, yes, this is just how my body works now, I couldn't afford any real treatment. So I ignored it. Financially, I was drowning. Rent, student loans, medical bills, credit card debt. It all kept piling up. And despite getting occasional raises, the cost of everything was rising just as fast. I kept checking job listings every day, hoping for a way out. But the only offers I got? Other call center jobs, paying less than what I was already making. A 48% pay cut to do the same soul-crushing work. At the beginning of the year, I finally switched to a different department. I thought it would be better. It wasn't. If anything, it was worse. I was under twice the scrutiny, and now I sat next to 3 managers all day long. So I started cutting more, writing SUIC notes, attempting in the bathroom on my breaks. Every time I failed, I'd beat myself up for not even being able to do that right, then go back to answering calls like nothing happened. I kept breaking down at work. I finally told my managers about the self-harm. They tried to help, offered some support, but ultimately, as long as I was still stuck on the phones, there was no real fix. Then in May, I wrote another SUIC note. I planned to try again at home. My managers found it, called the cops, and had me involuntarily committed. That was worse than the call center. I was placed in a mental health ward where a murderer kept wandering into my unlocked room. Luckily, since I had been admitted voluntarily, I was able to sign myself out that same night. Since then, I've been out of work on medical leave. I'm still coughing up blood. I'm trying to adjust my meds. They were working for a while, until yesterday when I realized something. God doesn't care about me. I'm a traditional Catholic, or at least I used to be. And I'm still stuck in the same nightmare. My leave is running out. I have to go back soon. And when I do, it'll be the same goddamn story day after day until I retire in 44 years. Story 23. I'm afraid I'll never be able to love someone. When I was 11, my father lost his first leg. From that moment on, I became his caretaker, helping him through the nights, during school breaks, anytime he needed me. I've spent years hearing him say things that used to break me. My hands hurt so bad. I just wish I could die. At first, those words made me cry. Now they don't make me feel anything. That scares me. I'm turning 17 this week, and I've never had a girlfriend. But even if I did, I don't know if I'd be able to love her the way I should. I don't know how to feel around people. I don't know if I'd be a good father, or if I'd just end up like my dad. Someone who needs everything done for him, who stops trying. And if that happens, would it be better to just end it? To spare them the pain of dealing with me? Sometimes I feel like screaming into the void. But every time I open my mouth, no sound comes out. The only thing I see are the faces of the people who would hurt if I died. I feel stuck in limbo, caught between life and death. Always talking, but never speaking. Free to go anywhere, yet trapped in a box I can't escape. But as much as these thoughts consume me, they've also shaped me into someone who wants to help others. Maybe that's my purpose. I try to do small things. Buying a friend a snack when they're short on money, listening when someone needs to vent. I just want to remind people that even though there's a lot of cruelty in the world, not everyone is like that. Even if I die brokenhearted and childless, I want to live on in people's memories as someone who tried to be good. Someone who showed that kindness still exists. Or at least I hope that's how I'll be remembered. But who knows? Because the more things change, the more they stay the same. Story 24. I had teenage parents who were always cruel. They constantly reminded me how I could never measure up, how I was the reason they couldn't achieve their dreams, how my existence was an obstacle in their lives. My dad beat me every single day for 7 years. No exaggeration, no breaks. Just daily punishment for existing. I spent years trying to make peace with it, trying to let it go, but obviously I have my own issues as a result. Just tonight, my dad texted me to let me know he doesn't want to see me again. The reason? I made a passing joke about his weight to my mom, something I immediately apologized for, something she swore she wouldn't repeat. But of course she did. So I told him the truth. I told him he's just a miserable failure who took his frustrations out on a kid who was unfortunate enough to be his firstborn, and that my own kids will be better off never knowing someone like him. It's still fresh. It happened just a couple of hours ago. But I already know that tomorrow I'll wake up feeling lighter. And that's my deep, dark secret. Story 25. Throwaway account because my friends know my main. I dated a complete jerk for way too long. About 2 years in, he started talking about how he and his friends were into choking themselves for fun. Apparently, the lack of oxygen to your brain gives you a rush, a sort of high. He asked if I'd ever done it. I said no. I also said I wasn't interested. But he kept coaxing me. Against my better judgment, I agreed, just once. Then he wanted to do it during EOS. Again, against my better judgment, I let him. What I didn't know was that sometimes, when you're deprived of oxygen, your body can have a seizure. That's exactly what happened to me. I blacked out. When he finally let go, I shot forward and slammed my face against the headboard. Hard. I broke my cheekbone. I was unconscious but still breathing. He panicked. He ran to get his roommate, another scumbag. They stood there staring at me, waiting for me to wake up. And then I heard them talking. If I didn't wake up, they were going to figure out where to stash my body. I was barely conscious, but I understood enough to start trying to move my arms, to make a noise. Anything to let them know I wasn't dead. His friend left the room. My boyfriend said my name. I groaned in response. That was all he needed to hear. And then he kept going. He finished. Afterward, he finally turned the light on to check the damage. My face was wrecked. I had to lie to everyone, my parents, my friends, my teachers, my coworkers, about what happened. And of course, this was 2 weeks before graduation, so I had to walk across the stage with a massive black eye and a broken cheekbone. I never told anyone the truth. I never told anyone what I heard them discussing. To this day, I still intensely dislike those people. I don't like using the word hate, but it's damn close. Karma got them in the end, though. Life caught up to them. They're both miserable now. I don't take joy in it, but I'm not upset either. Story 26. I wish my grandfather would just die already. He's 98. He's become a massive burden on my mother and uncle, and to make things worse, he completely screwed over my family. Back in 1999, he promised my mom a job on his farm if we moved closer to him. So we uprooted our lives, moved 3 hours away, only for him to change his mind as soon as we got there. Maybe he had financial troubles, right? No, the guy is worth millions. He just didn't want the inconvenience of helping his own daughter. That move ruined us. My dad had been running a successful hardware store where we used to live, but after we relocated, he could never get it back on its feet. The stress and depression from it consumed him for the next 10 years, until he finally just gave up on life entirely. My mom was lucky enough to find a half-decent job at a hospital, but even after retiring, she still struggles financially. And all the while, my grandfather sits there, completely detached from reality, acting like it's still 1953. According to him, nobody is worth anything. Everyone is just doing it wrong. If they really tried, they'd be fine. I wish he would just pass away already. I wish my mom could finally have the stability he promised her almost 2 decades ago. Story 27. Once upon a time, I was very depressed, heavily medicated, completely numb to life. One afternoon, I was sitting on the edge of my balcony, 4 stories up, looking down at the small communal lawn below. The grass was lush and green, almost inviting. In my mind, I imagined it as a deep blue swimming pool. I could see it, the way the water would ripple, how refreshing it would feel to dive into it. A part of me knew that if I jumped, I'd die. But the more I thought about it, the more that seemed promising. A quiet, beautiful way to go. No pain, just a cool, soft escape. I was in a trance. I knew I was going to do it. And then, out of nowhere, a girl appeared. She looked at me and said, "Are you silly? Don't sit on the balcony like that. It's really risky." She grabbed my hand and gently led me back inside. I don't remember what happened next, only that I fell asleep for 12 straight hours. When I woke up, I felt different, like something inside me had shifted, like I had another chance. My life slowly turned around after that. But here's the thing, I cannot remember who that girl was. I don't know where she came from. I don't know where she went. I can't even remember what she looked like. But she saved my life. And I will always wonder if she was even real. Story 28. When I was in my early teens, my dad started bringing up the stray cats that were being found dead around our complex. I never noticed anything unusual. One day he told me that our family friend had seen me outside the previous day after school. But I had been home all day, just doing my chores, finishing my homework, and watching Dragon Ball Z. My dad insisted, "No, you were outside. Donnie called your name, and you looked up at him, then just walked away." I was confused. I hadn't gone anywhere. Being told I was wrong about my own actions was such a strange, unsettling feeling. A couple of years ago, my dad finally opened up to me and said, "Sometimes you go places." I just remember him yelling at me for no reason, accusing me of sneaking out. That day, he said I had been gone for 20 minutes. He was so frustrated. He shook his head, pinched me, slapped me, even poked me with a pen, demanding answers. But I had none. He told me his side of the story, and I told him mine. Apparently, it had happened a lot. It made sense now why my dad never liked me being alone in public. I don't think it happens anymore. But honestly, I wouldn't know. I do know that I'm not aimlessly wandering these days. If I were, my roommates would have noticed by now. Story 29. I've relapsed. I've been using Hero almost every day for the past month and a half. If my roommate knew, he'd kick me out. I don't want to tell my best friend either. He's always been there for me, but I feel like all I do is burden him with my problems. He's so normal, and yet I constantly have to ask for help. Help with my PTSD, my addiction, and my abusive ex, who might still be out there, waiting for a chance to hurt me again. I've been trying so hard to stop, but if I'm being honest, I don't really see a reason to. I know I have to, but right now I just can't. Every day I tell myself it'll be the last. Yesterday was supposed to be the last. The day before, that was supposed to be the last. Every day I find a new excuse. Lately I've been thinking about self-harm and suicide more and more. The other night I went to a punk show and just threw myself into the pit, letting the crowd beat the hell out of me for an hour. By the end of it, I was so bruised I could barely walk for days. But at least that pain was easier to explain. If I start cutting again, people will notice. They'll ask questions, and I can't hide it. Not when my job requires me to bear everything. Even my friends were trying to pull me out of the pit, asking why the hell I was letting myself get hurt like that. Sorry for the rant. I guess this is just one of those secrets I haven't even fully admitted to myself yet. I know I'll get better eventually. I'll have a few months of what passes for normal. But deep down, I also know I'll never truly be normal. Never truly be happy. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever be clean. Some days it's just really hard to see the point. Story 30. 11 days before I left for basic training, about 6 years ago, I lost my older brother to suicide. I feel like that's important to mention because it might explain the state of mind I was in during what I'm about to share. When I came home, it was obvious that I was struggling with some kind of mental instability. On top of that, my daughter had been born while I was away. She was only a week old when I got back. I felt like I had lost control of my life. I couldn't make my own decisions, couldn't do what I wanted to do. Everything had changed, and I had almost no time to mourn my brother. It was overwhelming. Not long after, I got kicked out of my dad's house. My girlfriend and daughter stayed, but I was on my own. I spent about a year couch hopping, sometimes even living out of my car. I missed at least a year of my daughter's life. For what it's worth, I've completely turned things around. I'm now the custodial parent. My daughter and I live together, and she only sees her mom about 4 days a month. I'm also married now and have a 4-year-old son alongside my 5-year-old daughter. But here's my deep, dark secret. For a little while I was out on my own, I started telling a select few people that during basic training in AIT, Advanced Individual Training, I had actually been deployed overseas. I made up stories about being in multiple countries, engaging in firefights, and even participating in special operations missions. I fabricated everything. I made it sound real, talking about the sound of bullets tearing past me, describing compound layouts, recounting missions that never happened. I only told maybe 2 or 3 people, possibly 4 or 5. And to this day, I still don't fully understand why I did it. The thought of it makes me feel physically sick. I'm the kind of person who lies in bed at night, replaying every stupid, awkward, and embarrassing thing I've ever done. And this one never goes away. I haven't told anyone in years. Now, whenever the topic of my military service comes up, I make sure to clarify that I was never deployed. that my job was just fixing trucks. Nothing heroic, nothing extraordinary. Basic training had some cool moments, like firing the 240B, the 249 SAW, and even a grenade launcher with chalk rounds. And those are the only things I ever talk about now. At some point, I promised myself that I would never lie or exaggerate again. Looking back, I think it stemmed from a habit I had as a kid. Small exaggerations or fibs here and there. In middle school and early high school, nothing huge. But after that phase, I made a conscious effort to be completely honest about everything. I've stuck to that for at least 4 or 5 years now. Well, mostly honest. I mean, nobody is completely honest with their parents, right? My wife has no idea I ever did this. I stopped long before I met her, and since then, I've cut out almost all of my old friends, mostly because of my mental health and my struggle to maintain friendships. The only person I ever told who was still in my life was blackout drunk at the time, and even if he remembers, I doubt he'd ever bring it up. And yet, I still can't get it out of my mind. It haunts me at least once a week, maybe twice a month. I don't expect anyone to see this, but weirdly enough, just typing it out makes me feel a little better. Story 31. I received disability for rape trauma syndrome. Rape is that serious. It can completely ruin people. It destroys lives, and if you're struggling, you are not alone. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean our experiences with rape are any different. In fact, I fully believe men often have it even worse. They're shamed into silence, dismissed, and told to just get over it. But listen to me. You did not deserve to be raped. You did not deserve to be tortured. And there was no way you could have known what a monster your ex would become. Please, I beg you, be kinder to yourself. For a long time, I turned to prescription drugs just to sleep at night. But really, I was numbing myself, trying to escape the memory of what dog shit tastes like. My rapist forced it into my mouth. I'm still in recovery for the drug abuse that followed. I'm sure my liver is permanently damaged from it. Most days, I don't even care. I wish I were dead anyway. But the part that really breaks me, my children will lean into me for a hug and I just can't. I pull away. I stop breathing. Affection, even from them, feels unbearable. And I hate myself for it. I don't want my kids to suffer because I'm permanently scarred from something that happened in high school. So, here's the thing. I just admitted to Reddit one detail I have never told anyone before. Not my doctors, not my therapists, no one. But I'm saying it now because I understand your pain. I see it, and I think you might have RTS too. It's something worth looking into. I can't promise that everything will heal completely, but I can promise that things will change. You will grow, and with time, maybe, just maybe, the pain won't feel so suffocating anymore. Story 32. One of my close friends told me she liked me. At the time, I wasn't sure how I felt about her. But the moment she said it, my heart started racing. I felt like I had fallen for her hard. Butterflies swarmed in my stomach, and I could barely contain my excitement. It took me a week or two to work up the courage to ask her out. During those days, since we were in the same friend group, I kept freaking out to our other friends. The day I finally asked her, she smiled and said, "Sure, we can go on cute dates together." Nothing ever happened after that. It was awkward for a while, weeks of uncertainty and silence. I had asked her out at the end of March, and by mid-April, it was clear things weren't moving forward. Eventually, the awkwardness faded, and now we're back to being just friends. We're still in the same friend group, pretending none of it ever happened. But then I heard something. Some of our friends said, "She thinks of you as a sister." But then they added, "We all think otherwise. We aren't that close anymore, but we live less than a mile apart, so we still bike to each other's houses pretty often. And yet, 3 months later, I still have feelings for her, and that's a huge problem." The moment I asked her out, I regretted it, not because I didn't like her, but because of what it meant. Both of us have homophobic Asian parents. Her family is Christian, which makes it even worse. I have no idea how to move on. I haven't told any of my friends that I still have feelings for her. I don't know if I can, but I also don't know how to stop feeling this way. What do I do? Story 33. The only thing keeping me alive is the fact that all 4 of my parents, my mom and stepdad, my dad and stepmom, will rely on me to take care of them when they get old. I'm an only child. There's no one else to help. If I didn't have that responsibility, I have no doubt I would have ended things a long time ago. I rarely ever feel truly happy. Most of the time, it's just meh. But I've been like this for so long that I've learned how to act like a normal person. No one really notices. Every now and then, though, the depression hits hard. When it does, I just go to sleep. A nap usually helps, at least for a few hours. I don't know. I want to believe I have things I want to do. But do I actually want them? Or is that just part of the act? Am I even me anymore? Or have I just gotten so good at pretending that I've managed to fool even myself? Story 34. My father is bipolar, not in the quirky internet way, but clinically diagnosed. Instead of seeking proper treatment, he chose to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, making everything worse. His instability put our family in constant chaos. During manic episodes, he would quit his job on a whim, disappear for weeks, and drain our bank account, leaving my mom to figure things out alone. When the depression hit, he became violent. Physically, mentally, emotionally. He'd create lies just to justify the abuse. I remember 3 separate times when he tried to kill himself. For years, I blamed myself. Maybe if I had never been born, he wouldn't have felt so trapped. Maybe he wouldn't have spiraled so deep into his darkness. He made it clear over and over again that he never wanted kids, that my brother and I were burdens, that he wished we didn't exist. No child should ever have to know those things. But he had no shame in telling us. Maybe he only said it to hurt me, but I think part of him meant it. And the worst part? I think I'm becoming like him. Over the past few years, my behavior has shifted. Some days I feel unstoppable, excited, driven, like I can do anything. But then it turns, everything becomes too much. Even the smallest tasks feel like pushing a boulder up a hill. I should probably seek therapy. But if I'm being honest, I don't want to know the truth. I think the best thing I can do is keep my distance. Stay away from people. Try to live whatever kind of life I can, without hurting anyone else. Story 35. When I was 15, I went on vacation with my dad and older brother to the beach. It wasn't the relaxing trip it should have been. My dad had just recovered from surgery and spent most of the time in bed, too weak to do much. My brother, on the other hand, was constantly drinking, and I was the one stuck driving him everywhere. He was mean, called me names. I got so fed up with it that I just left. I went for a walk along the boardwalk by the ocean, trying to clear my head, but the weight of everything just became too much. I sat down, cried to myself for an hour, and then I had a thought. What if I just started swimming out into the ocean? No plan, no stopping, just gone. But then this older couple walked by. They must have noticed something was off because they stopped and asked if I was okay. Then they invited me to walk with them to a restaurant and grab some food. It was a well-lit area, and for some reason, I didn't feel uneasy about it. We ate together, and afterward, we walked to a nearby fountain. That's when I found out. They were both therapists. They had been married for 20 years. They sat with me and talked until 2 in the morning. I wish I had gotten their contact information. I wish I could thank them. They changed my life that night. They helped me come to terms with things I didn't even realize I was struggling with. Story 36. I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years. I'm a man, and I don't think people realize how much abuse men can go through too. My girlfriend emotionally manipulated me into cutting ties with almost all of my friends and most of my family. She physically abused me, but honestly, that part was manageable. What really broke me were the constant suicide threats. She knew how much that would affect me. My brother had survived 2 suicide attempts, so she understood exactly how to pull my strings. It became a cycle. Every time I tried to pull away, she threatened to end her life. I was terrified to leave because if she actually did it, I knew I'd never forgive myself. After almost 2 years of this, I just shut down. I lost touch with my emotions entirely. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just existing. And then came the darkest part of it all, my secret. I couldn't leave her, so I started secretly hoping she would actually succeed when I wasn't around, that she would do it while I was at work or out somewhere. I accepted the idea of her death. I wasn't hoping for it out of cruelty. I just needed an escape, and this felt like the only way. She tried more times than I can count. One time she downed an entire bottle of liquid Valium, and I had to force her to vomit. Another time I found her hanging in the bedroom closet. She had locked the door, and for a second I hesitated. I thought about just leaving, but then fight or flight kicked in. I broke the door down, grabbed her, and saved her. Years later, I'm glad I did. We broke up, and she seems to be doing okay now. We lost touch, and I'm fine with that. I don't think I'm a violent person, but I do think I was pushed to my absolute breaking point. I just needed out. Story 37. I was adopted at a young age. My biological parents abused me so badly that, by the time I was 2 months old, I had already suffered multiple broken bones. My adoptive family gave me a good childhood, but they never let me forget that they didn't have to. They made sure I knew they had chosen to take me in, like I owed them something. I later found out they were receiving money from me every month, but they hid that from me. I never asked for much because I always felt like they had already done enough just by taking me in. Despite being financially well off, they saved no money for my college education, so I joined the Army to secure my future. As I got older and the money stopped coming in, everything changed. Suddenly, I wasn't family, I was a burden. The same woman I had called Mama, the one who had sworn to love me unconditionally, stopped answering my calls. When I was medically discharged after 3 years of service due to an injury, she told me she was ashamed that I couldn't hack it. The man I had considered my best friend, my adoptive father, assaulted me after I confronted him about letting his creepy-ass friends spy on me through my bedroom window. I had been home on leave, trying to share a quiet, PG-13 moment with the girl I planned to marry after 6 months apart. That moment was stolen from me. I started drinking every night. When I finally got out of the military, I threw myself into college, spending every waking moment studying. Straight A's for the first time in my life. My mother didn't congratulate me. She accused me of being a drug addict because I spent so much time alone with my books. My fiancée left me. She didn't want my mother as a mother-in-law, and I spiraled. I wasn't a drug addict, but out of sheer spite, I became one. If they wanted to believe I was a junkie, I figured I might as well live up to the expectation. My family ostracized me. They sold my childhood home and bought a one-bedroom house, making it painfully clear that I was no longer welcome. So last September, I took a lethal dose of pain pills. I wasn't trying to get high. I knew what I was doing. I calculated the dosage. I just didn't expect to wake up in an ambulance. At the hospital, my parents showed up just long enough to confirm I was still alive. When they saw me, sobbing, apologizing for everything, my mother simply looked at my father and said, "Take me home. You can come back when he's released." Then she turned to me and said she was ashamed that her son was an addict. I snapped. I told them to get out, that I wished my girlfriend had just let me die. Not long after, I moved to a new city. I cut ties with my ex. Now my life consists of work, my dog, and searching for validation in whatever girl ends up in my bed that night. I know it's not healthy. I still drink like a fish. But outwardly, everyone thinks I'm okay. The truth is, the only reason I'm still here is my dog, my best friend in this entire world. And lately, with all the high-profile suics in the news, I don't feel sad. I feel envious. They succeeded. I don't want sympathy. I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe because no one knows the truth. No one knows that my overdose was intentional. No one knows that I wasn't just trying to get high. I was trying to die. And the worst part? I'm embarrassed that I couldn't even do that right. Story 38. I considered using a throwaway for this. But F it. When I was 16, I had a handful of pills in my hand and every intention of making them the last thing I ever consumed. I was ready, seriously ready. No sadness, no hesitation. I had reached that place where the only hope I had left was in never having to hope again. And honestly, that was comforting. I even smiled at the thought. That's the dark secret. No one knew where I was at. No one even suspected. I wore a perfect mask, carefully crafted, meticulously maintained. To everyone else, I was just a sarcastic, silly kid with a bright future ahead of him. And I was fine letting them believe that, because deep down, I was afraid that if they knew the truth, they would stop caring altogether. Then my dog Dexter walked in. He was a Dalmatian, neurotic, a bit of a weirdo. He never really liked people, wasn't affectionate, wasn't cuddly. He mostly kept to himself. He stood in the doorway staring at me. That wasn't unusual. But instead of just awkwardly walking away like he usually did, he came in and sat down next to me. I barely noticed him at first. I was too focused on the pills in my hand, trying to brace myself one last time. Then he nuzzled me. I pushed him away, but he persisted. He kept nudging me harder and harder until my hand shook and the pills spilled onto the floor. I looked down at them, then back at him, and for the first time in who knows how long, I felt tears welling up. He nuzzled me again. This time I didn't push him away, I pulled him close. And for once, he didn't pull away either. He didn't do his usual thing of getting weirded out and leaving. He just stayed. He licked my face as the tears fell. I threw the pills away. Years later, when I had to bury Dexter, I sobbed just as hard. Story 39. I've been married for 5 years, together with my husband for almost 8. Over 2 years ago, he lost a loved one. It hit him hard. His drinking spiraled out of control. He shut down, wanted nothing to do with our daughter or me. And then it got worse. He became verbally abusive, then physically abusive. I gave him a year to grieve, a year to work through his pain, to remember that he still had a family, a wife and daughter who needed him. But nothing changed. So I started speaking up. I told him how his drinking was destroying us, how his daughter wanted nothing to do with him because all she ever saw was her father drunk. No matter how hard I tried to shield her from it, she knew. I was a stay-at-home mom with no family nearby, no support, just trapped. When I finally told him I was leaving, he threatened me. He said he would take me to court so I couldn't leave with our daughter. Then he went further. He threatened to destroy me financially, to ruin my credit so I'd have nothing. And then he did exactly that. He racked up over $15,000 in debt on a credit card in my name. I was scared, but I stayed. I got 2 jobs and started working just to pay off his debt. Once I cleared it, I opened a different bank account, started saving to leave. But somehow he found out. And then he beat me. He made me transfer the money to him, said if I didn't, he would destroy me. I was broken, depressed, crushed by anxiety. I had no one to talk to. So I found someone outside of my marriage. At first, we were just friends. He was going through his own struggles and we leaned on each other. For 7 months, it was nothing but emotional support. And then we crossed the line physically. And you know what? I don't feel bad for cheating because I'm not the person I used to be. I'm just a shell.